best bites forever.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Best Bites Forever. In this video, I am finishing up my little mermaid cake. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so, and let's rock this out. The first thing that I'm working on today is my little fire coral. So what I have in my bag is a little bit of royal icing, and I have colored that with the Wilton color dyes, and this is what it's going to look like on the cake. You could kind of see it up there in the corner. I'm going to finish piping those and move right along to my next little sea creature. So here I'm trying to make something that is like some sort of sea plant, maybe like a seaweed or whatever we want to call it. I have the leaf tip on my piping bag here, and obviously I have switched colors. Again, I am using the Wilton color dye, and I'm just going to pipe out more of these than I actually need because they are pretty fragile when you try to pull them off of the sheet pan here, and I know I'm going to break at least one or two. That is what the little leaf is going to look like when he is on the cake. The next thing that I'm doing is one of those little spiny guys. They're called like sea anemones or something like that, and they are super fragile. So I'm going to pipe a bunch of his spines and just put those to the side. We're going to get back to him in a few minutes. Here I am making my other little sea creature. I think this guy is some kind of a sponge, and what I'm actually doing for this video is I'm looking at a picture of like an underwater, kind of under the sea picture, but like a real one, and just trying to form some of the little creatures that I see. So to make this guy, I made something that looked like kind of like a little purple cake with a like a dent in the middle, and then I covered it with white fondant, and now I'm using one of my piping tips to just cut tiny little holes so that you can see the purple through the white, right? So this guy takes kind of a long time to dry because he's super thick. So I'm going to put him over here on my sheet pan, and I definitely need to let him dry overnight. The next thing that I'm doing is rolling out some really nice bright yellow fondant, and I have these fondant cutters. They come in a kit and you get like a whole bunch of different ones. They're like different kind of flower cutters, but I thought they would make really cool little sea creatures. So I went ahead and I cut some of these out, and I'm just going to kind of fold them up so that again they look like a little creature, and that's what they're going to look like on the final cake. I'm putting them inside of these molds that I have. You could also use like the back of an ice cube tray like this, but something where it's going to help them stay folded into the position so that they're not flat. You definitely want them to have some kind of like flow and movement to them because they are supposed to be underwater, right? Here I'm kind of doing the same thing, but this time I have some kind of dark blue, and I'm kind of doubling them up this time. I used a little bit of water to sort of hold them together, and I just put one of the smaller pieces on top of one of the bigger pieces and folded them around. The last little creature that I'm going to be making is made out of this kind of beautiful pinky coral kind of color, and I'll show you those in a few minutes. So here is the base of my cake. Obviously I already covered it in fondant, and you can see I have a tiny little tear and also a tiny little wrinkle, but we are going to cover that up right now with some of that fire coral that I made. So there that is, and there is one of my little seaweed leafy things going in. The stuff that I piped around was just a buttercream, and I did that to match the color of the fondant on my cake. Here I'm just trying to decide exactly where I want to place all of my little creatures. I cut a little slit for my sea fan to be pushed down into because he is very fragile, and I made him the same way that I made the sponge thing, except for I also added some little veins onto him. So here again, I'm just kind of trying to like build up Ariel's throne. I want it to look like she's like super regal because she is a princess, right? So she needs like some cool creatures and some height around her. I'm going to put this little piece of fire coral, and again, you definitely want to use a paring knife and cut a hole before you try to stick anything in because they will break if you try to just push them through the fondant. I used a little bit of my buttercream to kind of hold Ariel in place, and by the way, that is a candle that I got off of Amazon, and I'll link it down below for you. There is my little spongy guy, and I just put some buttercream on the bottom of him and kind of put him over to the side of Ariel. And I'm just going to go ahead and put like some leaves back behind here. I want to make sure that my cake is decorated all the way around, not just in the front. And again, I want her throne to be just like totally full of colors. So I have that little green splash in the background, and now I'm going to add some of those flowers. This is that one that I was cutting out at the end that was like the kind of pinky coral color with the star cutter. I thought that it came out really super cute. And I'm going to go ahead and put this yellow guy right there. Again, like a nice pop of the really bright color, I think looks really good. And now I want to do my little spiny guy, my little sea anemone or whatever he is. So I put a big kind of blob of the colored buttercream, but I tried to make it kind of close to his spine color, and I put that up on the edge of the cake, and now I'm just adding all of the little spines. That's what they look like. I just kept putting them in, and then I put some graham cracker crumbs around it to kind of look like sand, like he's down, hiding himself a little bit, even though his little spines are hanging out. Nice little starfish going in right there. He is also made out of fondant, and I have a video up of how to make the little fondant starfish that I will also leave a link down below if you don't know how to make those. So this is what it's kind of looking like so far, and I'm just kind of looking and deciding if I want to add more stuff or not at this point. I went ahead and crushed up a bunch of graham crackers, and that's going to be like the little seabed, so that's my sand down there. You could also use those Biscoff crackers if you wanted to. They would be really tasty. Next, I'm adding some of these little shells that I made. These are all made of fondant, so everything on this cake is actually edible, with the exception of the candle, of course. But I also have a video up for the little shells. In case you missed that, I will put it down below. And this is what it is looking like when it's all finished. So I'll give it a nice little slow turn for you here. You can see that I had another one of those sea fans on the side with the little veins in it. And then I did more of the coral just along the back, a bunch of the little flowers, more of the sand. There's my little spiny guy. I think he's probably my favorite out of all of the sea creatures on there. And I also really love the way Ariel's throne looks on top. I feel like she looks very regal sitting up there. Of course, this is what it looked like I put a blue tablecloth behind it for the party, and it looked really great. Everybody loved it. Hey, you guys, I hope that you loved this video. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so now, and I will see you in the next video. Happy cooking, everyone.
BestBitesForever.com